6.36 miles, 8 minutes, 52 seconds per mile on average, 149 beats per minute on average. Getting in some mile repeats on my way to work today for my run commute. It's been 7 weeks that I've been training on a low heart rate training method using the Maffetone approach, but it's less than 40 days now from the Houston Marathon, and so I think it's finally time. It's probably a little too late, but I think it's at least now finally definitely time for me to start honing and getting ready for the marathon race. And so to do that, one of the things that I've been wanting to do, and something that I've always kind of had planned in my Houston Marathon training plan, was to have some faster miles. Now, when I wrote that Houston Marathon training plan back in October, I'd always anticipated that I would be training with the low heart rate approach, but I also anticipated that as we got closer, I'd want to make sure that my body gets accustomed to running marathon pace. I've had to switch up the marathon training plan a little bit. I wanted to give low heart rate training a little bit more of a chance to kind of take hold. And I've also decided to cut out some of the leg days in terms of lifting weights because I felt like it was kind of interfering a little bit too much with what I was trying to do with low heart rate training. So made a couple of tweaks to the marathon training plan, canceled some of the marathon pace miles I was supposed to start doing, I think a week, maybe even 2 weeks ago. But now we're at it now and we're reintroducing speed. So for today, basically the idea was to run a couple of mile intervals at hopefully marathon pace, which for me is 6:51 for my goal pace. And for today, I think mile 3 and mile 5 were my marathon pace miles for today. And I wasn't all that close to my goal pace. Today, the first interval came in at 6:56. The second interval came in at 7:19. So a little bit slower than I was hoping for, a lot harder, or about as hard as I thought these miles would be after so long running miles at anywhere between 10 minutes, 30 seconds per mile to 8 minutes, 40 seconds per mile. That's kind of been the range of the miles so far. So quite a bit of a difference. And so I know a lot of Maffetone purists will say that they run all their miles at their Maffetone heart rates after having trained that way for several months, if not years. And the only time that they run anything faster is when they're doing tune-up races, 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons, getting ready for marathon paces. I haven't had the benefit of trying to run this way for months and years. And so I have to do, I think, something a little bit different. And I do think a lot of people that do run along this Maffetone training approach still do some speed work, usually along a polarized approach, usually something along the lines of 90% at Maffetone or lower heart rates, and then 10% at much higher heart rates. For me, my main focus was to be very accustomed to marathon pace, what that feels like, so that I intuitively just know how fast I'm going. I want to be able to know by feel about what marathon pace feels like without having to rely on my watch and without really thinking about my heart rate. I just want to be able to know that level of comfort/discomfort. And so a lot of the marathon plan that I've written so far, in terms of any speed work that I'll be doing, those miles will be at marathon pace or half marathon pace, but nothing that much faster. So after today, I think some tweaks that I'm going to additionally make is that I'm going to add more of these, because today wasn't, time-wise, it wasn't great. I think the workout was great. Time-wise, it wasn't great. Unfortunately, I don't have a ton of footage for it. The GoPro battery died because of the cold relatively early on, so couldn't get a ton of footage for today, unfortunately. But it was very cold and very windy today. Had a stiff headwind the entire time, really strong winds, which was I knew would affect my time. And when I saw like the first split, I was a little bit discouraged by that, but I was just trying to keep it kind of in perspective, trying to like not like extrapolate out to a giant defeatist cataclysmic conclusion about it. It's the first time I'm reintroducing anything a little bit faster, so naturally it's going to be a little bit rusty. I feel like my body's going to kind of pick it back up relatively quickly as I start reintroducing more of these types of, running a mile at faster or marathon pace, resting a mile, running another mile, and the idea is to build up to 2-mile sets, 3-mile sets, 4-mile sets, to be able to just run longer, just chunks at marathon pace, which is something I want to do. And I want to increase, I think I had kind of been thinking about 90-10 in terms of my polarized approach, but I think I'm going to go, since I'm getting a later start in the calendar of when I'm reintroducing these types of miles, I think I'm going to condense it really further to 80-20. Hopefully my body can kind of keep up with that. 80% of the mileage still being at my low heart rate, running at about 100 to 145 beats per minute or lower. And those 20% not caring at all about heart rate and just trying to figure out or teach my body to just get very comfortable at that marathon pace. So that's kind of how I'll be tweaking things just a little bit more in terms of the Houston Marathon training plan that I've put together, which, by the way, if you want to look at it, in terms of what I have written out, I've kind of, instead of deleting anything, I've always just kind of made notes and updated to stuff so that you can see kind of like what I wrote back in late October and kind of how things are tweaking as kind of the training progresses. At this point, I'm kind of writing it as I go, or rewriting and adjusting things as I go. So changes will be happening, I think. I've kind of been doing that all along the way. But the general kind of framework, I think, is staying the same. So we'll see how well my body tolerates it, how well my body, and how hopefully quickly my body responds as we go forward. So it'll be interesting to see. I don't know how it's going to turn out, so it's going to be a surprise to me too, but it'll be interesting to see wherever it is that it takes me. So just a quick video. Wanted to give you guys an update on kind of where things are going in terms of the training. If you have any more questions about it, feel free to put them down in the comments below. I'd love to talk to you guys a little bit more about it down there. Before I go, I do want to remind you guys about the charity run for this week. This week it's Oscar Lazarki, who is raising money to buy presents for underprivileged kids. Last week he ran the Perpetual Motion 6-hour, and that was an event that he's run multiple years now, expressly for the purpose of raising money for these presents. So I was happy to donate $70 to Oscar's fundraising efforts, and I'll post a link in the description in case you'd like to learn more. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of the video, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Yo, what's going on?